understand that somebody was doing it. And folks figured out that it wasn't a good idea. So they said, you know what? Don't do that. Don't do that. So on page 49 in the Hosea, there's a passage at the bottom. It's passage number 3 on page 49. And it says, be not arrogant among your peers because of your strength. And beware of acting in such a way to encourage opposition. For one knows not what will come to pass or the things God will do to punish the evil. We're being cautioned against being judgmental, right? And looking down on people who may be struggling in areas where we might be strong. Now, going back to my cousin's life, he struggled with his own demons. He had a long lifespan of struggles with addiction. I say that he was in an abusive relationship with his own body for more than 40 years. And many people can be very judgmental about his life experiences when we talk about him. And some are, unwittingly being very arrogant about the fact that they were strong enough to resist something that he could not get enough of. And that was ultimately his downfall. Page 63 of the Hosea tells us, laugh not at the blind, nor make fun of a dwarf, nor interfere with the plans of the lame. Do not harass those who are in the hands of God, nor be fierce of face against them if they err. Surely humans are clay and straw, and God is the builder. God tears down and builds up daily. So the Hosea is talking to us about being compassionate and being loving and having understanding. But it's not just talking about the physically blind. What about the spiritually blind? What about the emotionally blind? What about those who are blind to how their words and actions affect other people? Because some people just don't know. The Hosea is not just talking about physical dwarves. What about the people who are underdeveloped emotionally? Underdeveloped in the maturity arena, right? Just because you're grown does not mean you are mature. And some people, and everywhere is where they are in their development, because that's part of God's plan for them. So how many of us recognize that mental illness is a challenge that we struggle with in our community, right? How many of us have watched a loved one, or you yourself have struggled with mental health problems? It is painful to watch, and I'm sure that it is painful to experience. That said, how often do we hear people scoffing at or making fun of or expressing irritation with or disappointment in people who are struggling? They say, he's tripping. I don't know why she's like that. He's always fill in the blank. The thing that helps us manage that experience truly is honesty. If we're honest with ourselves about who people are and what point they're at in their development, then it helps us to better understand them and, more importantly, adjust our expectations of them. My cousin Bobby is autistic. He is a grown man, but he is autistic. When I go to town to visit in Mount Vernon, New York, Bobby cannot drive me to the airport, so I do not expect it. I know because I am aware of Bobby's limitations. Doesn't make him a bad person. It just means he has some limitations. We can say the same for people who are where they are in their growth and development. And guess what? The same can be said for us. Honesty also helps us to know ourselves and admit who's tolerating us, who's being kind to us, who's being patient with us, who's being compassionate towards us while we're in the midst of our growth and development. It helps us to know what role we play in how the world reacts to us. It never ceases to amaze me how timely yet timeless the messages and the narratives that the ancestors provided us are. So if we are having the same experiences over and over, we can refer to the book of the Declarations of Virtues, which the Hosea tells us is a form of a parallel complement to the declarations of innocence. Okay? So, according to the Hosea, it expresses a constant ethic of the consistent ethic of right thought and practice, whose reward is found in this life and the next. So those are instructions that the ancestors have left for us to follow, and they're still true even today. On page 96 and 97, I kept reading these 2 pages while I was preparing the message. I kept reading these 2 pages, and then phrases from the 2 pages sort of grew into a patchwork quilt of knowledge that helped facilitate understanding within me. So, on page 96 and 97 from various passages, it says, I have neither been evil nor approved of anything evil or offensive. I have delighted in speaking the truth. I spoke to the people in a manner they liked and judged everyone according to their character, giving attention to what they wished. So I didn't just look at people's actions. I looked at their intentions and recognized that sometimes people's intentions are different than their actions. And sometimes in an erroneous attempt to do right, people upset folks. It comes out wrong, but their heart might have been in the right place. And that means in love, I need to work with them, and they need to work with me when I have those instances. But I have to work with them to help them understand what was communicated if it wasn't consistent with what appeared to be their intentions. It says, I am silent before the angry and patient with the ignorant in order to quell conflict. I was just and true and one without malice. Often folks define themselves or another by the least positive attributes. No matter how many positive things people say to you about you, so often we have a tendency to focus on the negative. No matter how many positive things you can see about a person, when that negative thing comes up, you like, oh, see, I knew that was in them. I knew that's who they were. But the fact of the matter is, even the ancients knew we are more than our mistakes. We are not just roving buckets of shortcomings. We are whole human beings in the midst of we are whole spiritual beings in the midst of a human experience. We are here for growth. And part of our experience is the making of mistakes. The ancients recognized that people on this journey needed encouragement and needed to know what results from right living. And so in the Hosea on page 115, we have a passage that tells us, it's passage number 8. The doors of the heavens are open to you because of your righteousness. Not because of your self-righteousness, but because of your righteousness. May you ascend and see Hathor, love and beauty exalted.